Hello, everybody, and welcome. Thank you for joining us for another webinar. It's been a while since I've hosted one, and I'm looking forward to today's webinar, especially because we're introducing one of our new colleagues. He joins us from Wells Fargo, one of the largest banks in the U.S., to spearhead our effort to offer U.S. commercial real estate loans for investors outside the U.S. I'll introduce Nick Worthing a little bit later. But right now, let me give you a quick update on the market, because there's some important macro events happening that I think everybody should be aware of. So as you know, interest rates have historically never been lower. It's prompted the biggest mortgage application cycle in the history of the United States. And that is because of the low rates. Now, because of the pent-up demand in the US and globally, because of people had to stay home under lockdown, they couldn't consume as much, that's all coming out now, especially with the stimulus check upcoming. And to that extent, a lot of the consumer numbers are surprising on the upside. And what that means kind of for our business is that the expectation of faster economic growth and inflation will push treasury yields and mortgage rates higher. And to echo that statement, if you look at how treasuries have been trading over the last few days, they are really spiking up. Now, gradual increases in yields are okay because the economy can digest it, but quick spikes are not good. And I think you will see a lot more volatility, and to that extent, there could be a lower appetite for mortgages. Nonetheless, it still is, in absolute terms, one of the best times ever to get a mortgage because rates are still historically low. Now, with that said, I'd like to introduce my new colleague, Nick Worthing. I think the format that seems to be quite successful in these webinars is that we just do a Q&A. I think, in this format, I'll ask Nick a few questions that I think are relevant to the audience. He'll answer them, and I think after a short discussion of the agenda, we'll open up this to discussion with our viewers. Now, I'd like to introduce Nick. Nick Worthing again joins us from the U.S., and I'll leave it to him to introduce himself.
Yeah, thanks, Donald, and thank you for everyone for joining us tonight. So, as Donald said, my name's Nick Worthing. I'm based in Bangkok, Thailand. I joined Global Mortgage Group at the end of 2020. Prior to that, I spent about 10 years with Wells Fargo back in the States in their commercial lending department. So I'm very familiar with the industry, the types of financing and structures available, and really excited to help expand this offering to Global Mortgage Group's clients.
Great, thanks for that introduction, Nick. I guess to kick off, let's just start with the basic question. What is a commercial loan?
Yeah, good question. So a commercial loan is a real estate loan made to a U.S. entity, and oftentimes in the States, that's an LLC specific to that property. It's collateralized by a building that has a commercial predominant tenant, or even a residential building if you're purchasing a multifamily building with 5 or more units. So either of those will fall in the commercial bucket.
Okay, good. Thanks for that explanation. Now, what would you say is what type of investor normally uses a commercial loan?
Yeah, so I think there's a mix of individual investors as well as family offices, and the people that use commercial loans are looking for real estate with stable cash flows, stable tenancy, extended leases. So you're going to find that in the commercial space. Also, if somebody's looking to purchase a larger residential building, as long as it's 5 units or more, we're able to help with that. Another thing that we've seen recently is our overseas corporations that either have some footprint in the U.S. or looking to expand that footprint, and we can help them purchase a U.S. headquarters. So the loans can either be investor loans or owner-occupied loans in the sense of a business expansion.
Oh, great. That's a good explanation. I guess let's jump right into kind of probably what's on everybody's mind. Like, what kind of rates are we looking at for a commercial loan?
Yeah, so a true foreign national loan, and keep in mind, this is a loan that's underwritten to a non-U.S. citizen, oftentimes no U.S. credit, no assets in the States, and no U.S. tax returns. Those rates are going to be in the mid-5s to low to mid-6s right now. Obviously, it's higher than U.S. citizen rates, but it's truly because of the lack of information that can be provided to the lender. There are rates specific to the multifamily space that can go down to the mid to high threes. Those lenders have a very specific credit box for both the property and the sponsor. But that's something that we can dive into pretty quick and identify if that's an option or not.
Okay, good. Now, aside from the rates, what's important to many investors is how much can they borrow. So what kind of leverage, or i.e. loan to value, and that you typically see with your lenders, and what kind of maturities are offered as well?
Sure. So from a leverage standpoint, 65% loan to value is a pretty hard ceiling for most foreign national loans, commercial loans. When I mentioned the multifamily product prior, that if the investor in the property fits into that box, those LTVs can stretch to 75 or even 80%. So again, we can help with that discussion and see if that's an appropriate route to take. As far as maturities on a fully stabilized, property, so a permanent loan would be, you're going to see maturities 5, 7, or 10 years, possibly longer depending on the property. And we can also offer shorter maturities for maybe properties that may be in transition or lease up phase, or construction projects. So.
Oh, good. Sounds like we have a lot of tools, a lot of things to offer our clients. I guess on that note, one thing that surprised me since you've joined is the different types of assets that we can actually find financing for our clients. So, why don't you share with our audience what types of properties that we're able to finance with the commercial loan?
Yeah, so good question. And it's going to be any property that's commercially zoned. The tenant's going to be a commercial tenant. So think of a retail strip mall, a hospitality building, an office building, or a warehouse, anything along those lines. Obviously a multifamily building with 5 or more units. We also do land deals and construction deals, as long as it's a commercial construction project.
Got it. Okay, thank you for that. Now, let's say a client is interested, likes what we have to offer. What is the process like for an overseas or international investor looking to secure a commercial loan with GMG?
Sure. So the first step in the process is really, let's get on the phone and discuss the details. Commercial financing is very property and deal specific, and they can change, the terms available can change from deal to deal. So let's get on the phone and discuss the transaction. Let's discuss the property and the sponsor specifics, and discover what their plans and what the best route to take will be. From there, we can go to our lenders, get an initial sense of what the terms may look like. Once that's agreed upon, we'd move into more of a more formal credit underwriting, or to the third-party work, which is going to include a typical appraisal and any environmental work that's required by the lender. And then once all that's complete and we have a credit approval, we move to arrange a closing, and all that. The important part is all that can be done from overseas. So there's no need to come to the U.S. or to go to the U.S.
Got it. And I guess, listen, that leads us to the kind of the next question is, if I'm an investor and if I'm an investor, potential investor, and I'm watching this video or this webinar, I'm thinking to myself, why should I use these guys for a U.S. commercial deal? Could you address that question?
Sure. Yeah, and the answer really is commercial lending is very fluid, and especially the past 11 months, and definitely in the near term, it's going to continue to stay fluid. Lenders have come in out of the market, completely paused certain programs, restarted back up with maybe restricted parameters. So it's a lot to follow, even for a U.S. citizen in the States. It's only harder if you're a non-U.S. citizen outside the States. And commercial terms are really dependent on how the loan is structured and presented to the lender. So one of the things that I think we do well is speak with the client, understand their goals and property specifics, and put the property and the deal together in a way that we feel the lender will feel the best about, and in return provide the best terms. Yeah,
that's a good explanation. Let me add to that a little bit. Like with everything we do at GMG, our core strength is our ability to understand our clients, because we're overseas ourselves. And to that extent, we're able to package the loan in a way that connects with our lenders better. I think if you're to reach out to, lenders in the US, you may not get the breadth of choices that we would offer. Also because Nick has been in the industry for such a long time, naturally he has many sort of choices to choose from. So I think, that's kind of consistent with, how we like to kind of, offer the services to our clients. I guess, listen, that's a pretty good explanation of what a commercial loan is, different aspects of it that are value added to our investors. Maybe Nick, why don't you walk through some of the recent successful commercial loan financing deals that we closed over the last month?
Yeah, sure. So to touch on the business expansion piece that I mentioned earlier, last month we worked on a German company that had some operations in the U.S., but we're really looking to expand that market and needed a U.S. presence to help with logistics. So we were able to, and the reason they couldn't get traditional financing is because the loan repayment was strictly based on the German company's financials, and they had nothing reporting up to the U.S. So we were able to find a lender that underwrote strictly to the German financials. The purchase price of the property was $5.9 million. We did a 65% loan to value. It's a 5-year interest only term for the client. And the way this worked for everybody, the reason it works so well for everybody is it's going to give the client the opportunity to get into the building, establish a U.S. presence, and any income that's generated from that U.S. presence is going to roll up to a U.S. tax return. And then in 2-3 years, then they'll be able to get more traditional terms. So it was a win-win all around. And then if I may, I'll touch on one more. It's a very common property that I've seen throughout the years, and it's specific to one tenant. We have a client right now that we're working on purchasing a Walgreens location in California. It's $6.2 million expected purchase price. Again, we're looking at 65% loan to value, so the loan amount's going to be right about $4 million, and the rate's going to be in the high fives. So Walgreens is a great tenant because they have long leases, pay great rents, and their business model is probably going to be a good fit for the near term. So those are two examples, just to name a couple.
Great, thanks, Nick. Listen, that was a very thorough discussion on like I said earlier, the U.S. commercial loan space. I think why don't we open up the Q&A with our attendees? I think we have some questions that are popping up already. The first one is answer live. This client is looking for a commercial loan for a single-family house. I understand the minimum is a 5-family building, correct? I guess I could answer that one. I think, if it's a loan for a single family house, that would be considered a residential loan, not a commercial. If it's 5 units or more, then it becomes a commercial, because then it's like an apartment block. I don't know if that answers your question. Nick, we have another one what documents are required to qualify?
So it's going to depend on the loan program that we choose and the property. On something documents that are required on every property are going to be a personal financial statement for the sponsors, anyone that's 20% owner or more. We're going to want to see two years of historical financials on the building itself, so that can be provided by the seller. And then also a rent roll on the property to look at the tenants and their leases. So there will be additional documents, but those are 3 that are pretty consistent on every deal. Okay, good.
Thank you for that. Here's a question from Mr. A. What type of down payment is required for a multi-family apartment with 5 units or more?
So a traditional loan program is going to be 65% leverage, so 35% down payment. Depending on the multifamily and the sponsor, we may be able to take advantage of some multifamily specific loan products. If that's an option, the loan to value can stretch up to 75 or possibly even 80%. So it really depends on the property, and I'm happy to help talk through in more specifics on a one-off.
Okay, great. Well, the next one's a good one. This client, who we love already, can you do a 40-unit apartment building loan in Florida? Yes, yeah. Please contact it. This is exactly what we do. And I think you'd be surprised at the kind of rates that we'd be able to offer. Sorry, Nick, I kind of jumped in there.
Oh yeah, I agree. I would have said the same thing.
The next question comes from Mr. A, and it's, can I sell my property if I want during the payment period?
Yeah, you can. It's gonna, if it's a fixed rate loan, it's gonna come with a prepayment penalty. So that's one of the things you'd want to understand is where you're at in the maturity and what does the potential prepayment penalty look like. But sure, you definitely can.
Good, good. Thank you for that. Last one is, not last one, so a lot more. Can you please discuss the most common loan terms available to foreign nationals, such as amortization, interest only, etc.?
Yeah, so from an amortization perspective, 25 years is a pretty common one for foreign nationals. And interest only is an option. We can either do a partial term interest only or full interest only. Or we've got lenders that will do, full principal and interest.
Okay,
so there's kind of a mix. It's really deal specific and what your plans are.
Good, good, good. Last one is from Mr. P, who is a client of ours. I recognize the name. What sort of amortization period could be expected for, say, a multifamily and as well as a NNN, as well as a NNN?
Yes, so that's going to be the 25-year amortization. If we can take advantage of the multifamily programs, they can stretch that out to 30 years. And triple net's going to be the same, 25 years.
Got it.
If you want to bring it shorter, that's obviously an option as well.
Okay. From the same viewer, for an American citizen, what loan to value rate and tenor could be expected for a multifamily unit?
So again, if the U.S. citizen is able to fit the box of these lenders, they're called agency lenders, the loan to value is going to be 75 or 80% on the multifamily product. Rate's going to be in your mid to high threes. If it doesn't fit that box, it's going to be a 75% loan to value, and likely in the low fours, low to mid fours on the rate.
Okay, good. Next one is, do the loans require the borrower to have U.S. credit? I live in Hong Kong and have only invested in London, but taxes are not favorable.
No, they don't. And oftentimes our clients don't have any U.S. credit or U.S. assets. So we do have lenders that understand this and can underwrite to that.
Good, thanks. I'm in contract now for a strip mall in Nevada. My lender got to the end and now told me you can't do it because I'm not a U.S. citizen. How long is your closing time?
On a typical transaction, it's going to be 30 to 45 days. Obviously, there's some urgency here. So I would say let's talk as soon as possible and we'll see how we can help.
Good. Returning question from a client. For an American citizen, what LTV? Oh, we've already answered that one. Well, address me by my first name. Can a deal be structured whereby we put little down payment as possible in terms of buying a multifamily building? Is there a way?
There are some ways, where we can structure with, as little down payment as possible. We just have to bring in a different type of capital, whether that be mezz financing or preferred equity, but there is a way, and I'm happy to discuss that on in more specific. Great.
The next one is, what is your maximum loan amount? What is your maximum loan amount? Can you do type A commercial refinance to release equity?
Yeah, so both those questions, yes, we can do the type A cash outs, and there really isn't a maximum loan amount. I would say there's more of a minimum loan amount, and that's, ideally it'd be $1 million, but we can go down to 500,000. And really the idea for the minimum is when you start getting into the lower loan amounts, the financing gets really expensive and it starts to not make sense for the borrower. So 500,000 is a hard minimum, and there's really no maximum.
Okay, good. The next one is, can you get a commercial loan for one vacation home that you plan to rent out for the majority of the year? Do you have to buy a property in a business name? If so, how is this done?
So the first question, if it's going to be a single family home, that's going to be more of a residential. Anything 1 to 4 unit is going to be a residential program. And to answer your second question, yes, the lenders are going to want you to close in the US LLC. So, you know, that's something that we can help start the conversation on, and ultimately, you know, your CPA and attorney can help draft the documents, but it's not a hard process. It's not very complicated.
Okay, good. Here's another one. Do you secure financing for commercial real estate outside the US, such as Singapore, Hong Kong, the UK, or Australia? Well, let me answer this, Nick. Absolutely. What we do is we have a network of family offices, investment managers, pension funds, credit funds that are able to offer these type of financings. So give us a call if you have interest in commercial real estate, or actually any real estate financing anywhere in the world, actually, to be honest. The next one is, the interesting name, Robert Littlepup. He's Indian. What if I'm not a US citizen, but just want to buy a regular home in Florida? Yeah, I mean, listen, that's kind of our core business. We're the only US mortgage specialist outside the US. We have a team around the world, in the US and throughout Asia. And a commercial real estate loan is actually our bread and butter. We have access to over 150 residential lenders in the US. So we would be able to offer you rates that you wouldn't be able to find in the US. So give us a call if you're interested. Next one is it possible to have interest-only repayment, say in the early or initial years?
Yes, absolutely. And that's what we consider partial term interest only, and we can either do it partial term or full term. We have lenders that will offer both.
Okay, good. All right, here we go. What type of company structure is needed to get approval for a commercial loan? Would that be an S Corp or a standard LLC?
I would say just going through being in the industry, LLC is definitely the most common, just because of the ease and to establish them. But we do have clients that do S Corps, and that doesn't necessarily matter to the lender. It's really what your CPA decides is best for you. Either way would be.
Great, thank you for that, Nick. The next question is, I have a unencumbered commercial building in the US. I need to use the equity for a loan in a short time frame. Is this called a commercial loan? I believe this is a bridge loan. I think this is something that's been very popular recently, where the speed at which financing needs to be fast for certain opportunities, and that's something that we do. We also do that in Singapore and other parts of, actually globally as well. It's been a fairly common transaction for us over the past, 6 to 9 months. I guess that's kind of it. To all our viewers out there, any last minute questions? We got one. Do you have any ideas on tax implications for non-American citizens investing in commercial real estate? So, Mr. LP, I think I recognize your name. For tax situations, we try not to give advice on, and probably not appropriate to over this webinar. However, we definitely can direct you to the right person, whether that's in Singapore, Hong Kong, or wherever you're calling from. We have specialists that we work with. So please give us a call and we can kind of take it from there. Last one, getting a commercial loan approved from GMG, how long do we hold it for before converting to a traditional finance and paying it off and pay off the GMG loan?
So we're going to go straight to the permanent loan. So our role is really to understand your project and your transaction, and help arrange you with a lender, part of our lender network that we think would be fit. So you're going to go to one straight loan, one permanent loan.
Got it. Okay. Another one. Could you do a pre-approval for a commercial loan?
Yeah, I get that question a lot, and really the answer is, sure, we can start to have the conversation. The reason why it's tough is, and doesn't work, in the same way that a residential pre-approval would be, is the approval is very dependent on the property. So, we're going to have to look at the property's financials, the rent rolls, understand how they're affected with the current environment. So it's not a thing to do a pre-approval as you would see it in the residential process, where we then issue a letter. But we can certainly start the conversation, and guide you from there.
Thank you, Donald and Nick. Well, thank you, Mr. A, and I hope to hear from you soon. And I think with that said, let's kind of wind it up. Listen, thank you for taking the time to join us. We're here to help you with your mortgage goals, whether that's residential, bridge, commercial, portfolio, multi-unit, and whether that's in the US, UK, Canada, Australia, Hong Kong, Singapore, France, and Europe. I hope I didn't forget anything. So give us a call, and I'll let Nick also say goodbye to all of you as well.
Yeah, thank you for everyone for joining us, and please feel free to reach out and we can discuss any more specifics.
Awesome. Have a good evening, everybody, and stay safe.